Brian Moser, The Brother Who Lived, novel version. In Jeff Lindsay's novels, Brian's fate diverges sharply from the television series. Instead of dying at Dexter's hands, he survives and becomes a recurring figure throughout the books. Brian is depicted as fully embracing his homicidal urges without restraint or moral code. Unlike Dexter, who follows Harry's rules to control his dark passenger, Brian kills without boundaries or justification. He is unapologetically predatory, taking pleasure in murder as an end in itself. His survival changes the dynamic of the novels significantly. Rather than serving as a one-time antagonist, Brian becomes an uneasy ally to Dexter in later books. He assists when Dexter faces external threats, using his own violent tendencies to protect his brother. At the same time, he consistently challenges Dexter's reliance on Harry's code, dismissing it as an artificial construct. This ongoing relationship highlights the contrast between the two brothers, Dexter as the killer bound by rules, and Brian as the unrestrained reflection of what Dexter could become without them. Dr. Danco, the Torturer. Dr. Danco appears in Dearly Devoted Dexter, the second novel in Jeff Lindsay's series. He is one of the most disturbing antagonists introduced in the books, defined not by the number of people he killed, but by the way he destroyed them. Danco was a former associate of a special forces unit, infamous for his methods of torture. Rather than killing his victims outright, he mutilated them piece by piece. His process included surgically removing body parts, tongues, eyes, limbs, while deliberately keeping his victims alive and forced to watch the complete process. The end result was not death, but total physical and psychological ruin. Survivors were left unable to communicate or function, effectively erased as people while still trapped in their bodies. His victims included Miami police officer Albert Dokes and military personnel, specifically targeting those connected to his past. Danco's actions were not random, they were calculated acts of revenge. This made him a different type of antagonist from others Dexter faced, one who worked from a plan rather than impulse. Dr. Danco stands out in the novel continuity because his atrocities forced Dexter into conflict, not just with a killer, but with someone who weaponized precision and control in ways that mirrored Dexter's own skills, but without any code of restraint. Albert Dokes, novel overview. This version of Dokes is a Miami-Dade police sergeant who appears across the Dexter novels, first in Darkly Dreaming Dexter, last in Dexter's Final Cut. He is not the TV character James Dokes. He is James's novel-only counterpart and functions as a recurring antagonist who doesn't trust Dexter. Dokes is depicted as physically imposing, highly disciplined, and deeply intuitive about criminal behavior. From early in the novels, he openly dislikes and distrusts Dexter, shadowing him non-stop while attempting to catch him in suspicious behavior, similar to the TV version. In Dearly Devoted Dexter, Dokes' pursuit intersects with the investigation into Dr. Danco, a torture specialist from his old Special Forces circles. During that storyline, Dokes is abducted by Danco. He survives, but is partially dismembered, including having his legs cut off and tongue cut out while awake, and forced to watch, a hallmark of Danco's method of destroying victims without killing them. Dokes remains alive afterward in the novel continuity. Moloch, Origin of the Dark Passenger. In the novels, Moloch is presented as an ancient, malevolent entity, the original Dark Passenger, that can inhabit humans and influence them to commit evil acts. He appears only in the third book, Dexter in the Dark, and does not exist in the television storyline. Moloch's mythology frames it as existing since the beginning, spawning many offspring, known as other passengers, and destroying those that rebel. This establishes Dexter's passenger as one among many, not a purely psychological construct. In the story, Moloch's presence causes Dexter's own dark passenger to abandon him and hide for most of the novel. A secretive group referred to as the Watcher, often called the Cult of Moloch, worships Moloch and targets Dexter, whom they call the Other. Their ritual practice includes child sacrifice using a bull-headed statue with a fire in its belly. Their plan involved throwing Aster and Cody into the statue. They believed that if the host Dexter experienced enough pain and anguish, his passenger would return, allowing them to destroy it. Despite Dexter being burned during the ritual, his passenger does not return in that moment and only resurfaces later during Dexter's wedding to Rita to console him. Throughout the novel, Moloch exerts pressure signaled by drums and trumpets that almost hypnotize Dexter to do things against his will or that he's unaware of. While different passengers are contrasted, Cody Bennett's passenger openly resists Moloch, whereas Dexter's retreats. These elements define the supernatural framing, unique to the novels. Alana Acosta and the Coven. In the fifth novel, Dexter is Delicious. A cannibalistic cult called the Coven operates in and around the Miami nightclub. Prominent members include Alana Acosta, a councilman's wife, Bobby Acosta, her stepson, also known as Vlad, and Victor Chapin. The Coven functions as the book's primary antagonist. The investigation begins with the disappearance of Samantha Aldevar and her friend Tyler Spanos. Clues point to cannibalism and to men with filed fang-like teeth, including Bobby Acosta. Evidence later confirms Tyler was killed, barbecued, and eaten. Dexter and Deborah trace the trail to Club Fang. Dexter breaks in after hours and finds Samantha alive in a walk-in refrigerator, where she discloses she volunteered to be eaten. She locks Dexter in the fridge with her to prevent her from being rescued. The pair are subsequently moved to a trailer in the Everglades, where the police rescue Dexter. A tip leads police to an abandoned amusement park, where the Coven captures Dexter, Deborah, and Kyle Chutsky. It is revealed that Alana Acosta leads the group and is actively cooking a slice of Samantha. Brian Moser, one of her henchmen, intervenes, shooting Alana and other Coven members, enabling a rescue. Samantha soon dies of her injuries. Bobby flees, and Dexter later decides to take care of him at Deborah's request, indicating the Coven's dismantling through a mix of arrests, deaths, and vigilante retribution. Brandon Weiss, the performance artist killer. Brandon is the principal antagonist of the fourth novel Dexter by Design, a Miami-based performance artist and former writer for the city's tourism bureau who turns homicide into art after Dexter killed his partner Alex Donkovich. Weiss stages bodies as avant-garde installations, tableaus mocking Miami's tourist culture, and films both the scenes and public reactions. He uses varied methods, notably fishing line for strangulation, and integrates video editing as part of the piece, positioning himself as a modern art provocateur rather than a conventional serial killer. After Dexter kills Donkovich, Weiss sends Dexter a video recording of the kill, proving he has Dexter under surveillance, and shifting his focus to publicly exposing and destroying him. He then murders a Cub Scout den leader in a staged display to taunt Dexter, and kills his video editor, Kenneth Wimble, via a house explosion, continuing to fold murder into performance. Weiss's larger plan is to project the Dexter Donkovich kill video on a landmark hotel during a major art festival at the Hotel Nacional in Havana, turning Dexter's secret into public art. Dexter and Kyle Chutsky pursue him to Cuba, but Weiss stays ahead of them and forces their return to Miami. During Miami's art event, Weiss kidnaps Rita and mounts a live exhibit, disguising the abduction as a performance and attempting to strangle Dexter with fishing line while filming. Brandon tries to kill Astor and Cody when they try to free their mom. The struggle ends when Rita kicks Weiss onto a table saw. He bleeds to death from the injuries. Weiss literalizes the series' art violence theme by weaponizing public spectacle, social media video, and installation art. He is among the few adversaries who both outmaneuvers Dexter tactically and threatens to expose his identity in front of an audience, raising the stakes from private code enforcement to public annihilation. Bernard Elan, the copycat. Bernard becomes Dexter's primary adversary in the novel Double Dexter. After witnessing Dexter dismember a child predator in an abandoned house and fleeing the scene, he begins stalking Dexter online, under the moniker The Shadow, and attempts blackmail, shifting rapidly from opportunist to obsessed copycat. Elan exploits digital systems to erase and replace identities. He alters databases to indicate he died 2 years earlier, and later assumes the alias Doug Crowley. He lures Dexter to his ex-wife Alyssa Elan's home, mutilates her in a way that mimics Dexter's methods, and calls the police to frame him. Elan kills Camilla Fig, who in the novels is a forensic tech obsessed with Dexter, and manipulates the investigation so that Detective Hood fixates on Dexter as the likely culprit. Elan maintains pressure via taunting messages and continued data tampering, leveraging his hacking skills to stay a step ahead. Bernard follows Dexter's family to the Keys, murders Detective Hood, and poses as a scout leader to abduct Astor and Cody to Garden Key. Dexter reaches the island, subdues Elan, and with Astor's help, Elan is thrown overboard, where a shark kills him, ending the threat. Elan is one of the few antagonists to witness a kill, systematically frame Dexter using both imitation murders and digital forgery, and target Dexter's family to force a confrontation, elevating the danger beyond exposure to direct harm. Robert Chase, Hollywood pedophile. Robert is the principal antagonist of the novel Dexter: Final Cut, a high-profile actor shadowing Dexter and Miami homicide to research an acting role. In industry circles, he is suspected of being a pedophile, targeting prepubescent girls. Chase assaults and kills using knives or blunt weapons, notably a baseball bat, having no disposal method. His violence is driven by the need to protect himself. He kills anyone who catches him with Astor. Confirmed victims in the novel are Kathy Podrowski, Jackie's assistant, Jackie Forrest, a famous Hollywood actress and his co-star, and Rita Morgan. He also incapacitated Dexter Morgan with a bat and restrained him. The confrontation ends when Astor Bennett fatally stabs Chase, stopping him before he can kill Dexter. Ironically, Dexter is arrested for the murders of Jackie, Rita, and Robert, though he didn't kill any of them. Chase is one of the few book antagonists whose actions directly target Dexter's family and inner circle, escalating the threat from exposure to intimate personal harm, while weaponizing celebrity access to penetrate an active investigation. Raul and his cartel. Raul and his associates appear as major antagonists in Dexter is Dead, the final novel in Jeff Lindsay's series. Unlike the individual killers Dexter faced in earlier stories, Raul represented the violent power of organized crime. He was a member of a Cuban drug cartel, ruthless in his methods and relentless in pursuing control. Brian Moser was an employee who had stolen a fortune from Raul. When Brian used the money to bail Dexter out of jail, Raul went after both brothers. Raul's conflict with Dexter escalated when the cartel targeted Deborah and Dexter's children. He He orchestrated the kidnapping of Astor, Cody, Nicholas, and Lily Ann, using them as leverage against Dexter. This made the threat intensely personal, forcing Dexter into a situation where he had to navigate both the brutality of a cartel and the vulnerability of his family. Unlike many of Dexter's enemies, who killed to satisfy personal compulsions, Raul operated within a system designed to enforce dominance and expand criminal influence. In the novels, the final fight ends up with Raul and the cartel dead, along with Brian and Dexter, leaving Deborah to raise all of the children. Steve Gonzalez, philanthropist, predator, comics, and cameo in novel. Steve is a billionaire Miami developer, public do-gooder known as the Condo King, and head of the New Hope Foundation. He is a former classmate of Dexter's, appears as a primary antagonist in the Dexter Comics series, and is briefly referenced in the novel Dexter in the Dark. Publicly praised as Mother Teresa, he conceals a violent criminal life. His confirmed victims include stabbing Arthur Bleak and murder staged as suicide for DeVoe. Gonzalez favors opportunistic, visible staging, bodies displayed in plain sight, and employs varied tools, including a Molotov-style explosive, syringe, and small pitchfork. He twice attempts to kill Dexter and Deborah, once by firebombing Deborah's vehicle, and later by abducting them to a warehouse at Mar Dorado. He's got a verified victim count of at least 2, with indications of additional victims tied to his foundation and resort. As boys, Gonzalez bullied Dexter. Dexter's thwarted attempt to kill him in school is cited as a turning point for Gonzalez's later persona, connecting him to Dexter's history in both the comics and a chapter reference in the novel. Gonzalez flees to Venezuela to evade Miami authorities and is ultimately killed by Dexter. His last appearance is Dexter issue 5. Bruce Gribsey, white supremacist manhunter. In the comic Dexter Down Under, Bruce is a wealthy Australian developer and public philanthropist who secretly runs a white supremacist killing operation. He is founder and CEO of Citizens for a White Australia and the principal antagonist across the 5-issue Dexter Down Under series. Gribsey is confirmed to have at least 8 victims, often entire immigrant families murdered to send a message that aligned with his racist ideology. His primary weapon is a knife, and he leaves bodies on display in public spaces. Gribsey escalates to hunted game scenarios at his remote property, using a tank-like robotic vehicle for pursuit and a quadcopter for aerial surveillance. He also gamifies violence via a website that starts as a kill endangered species game and funnels members into real human hunts. After multiple immigrant family murders, Dexter and Detective Shauna Wiggs trace patterns to properties linked to Gribsey. They discover imprisoned migrants at an Ayers Rock farm. Gribsey shoots Dexter and Shauna, then releases them half-clothed into the desert to hunt them with his robotic vehicle and drone. During the final chase, Shauna wounds Gribsey, while Dexter shoots his leg, severs his hand, and snaps his neck. Dexter and Shauna then burn his body and free the captives. Gribsey is one of the franchise's most organized sport hunters, pairing racist ideology with technology-assisted pursuit and public staging, broadening Dexter's rogues gallery beyond Miami to an international, paramilitary-style predator.
But there's one name that's not on this list, the name I still dream about. The man who didn't just challenge my code, he nearly broke it. He wasn't just a monster, he was me, without the mask. Wait until you see the one that still haunts me, the one I can never outrun, the one that made me question if I was ever even in control. You'll want to stick around for that, because some nightmares don't end, even when you kill them.